All right, everybody, in today's video, we're going to be building this window seat, and it has drawer storage underneath. We got 3 full extension soft close drawer slides, and you can see we have a box in here, and that is the box of goodies. No, I'm just kidding. That is the Axilo leveling feet. We're going to be using that. We're going to build the drawer boxes. We're going to build the whole carcass and everything, put it all together, and then in the next video, we'll be doing the drawer fronts. All right, let's get started. Okay, so I'm over at the sliding table saw. This is the Maxewa BMS 3200 IR. Maxewa is a brand partner of mine, and this is a great sliding table saw. It's tripled my productivity. Efficiency is incredible. First thing I do is straight line rip so I can get rid of the factory edge. You always want to make sure that you get rid of the factory edge. Then I can set my rip fence and I can batch out the pieces of the sides that I need, the tops, the bottoms, and this way everything is all the same size. By utilizing the rip fence and making all of your cuts on your width for all your pieces at the same time, you can guarantee that everything is going to be perfect and equal. Just makes it a lot easier later on when you're trying to square everything up when you're putting these carcasses together. Not only are you going to speed up your productivity, but you're also going to have less waste. So if you have good plans, then you can actually decrease the amount of waste that you have and utilize all the extra cutoffs. And then this way, you're not spending as much on material and you're increasing your profits. So once I have all my parts batched out, I can bring them over to the workbench for assembly. But first what I want to do is mark all the edges that are going to get edge banded. Some parts don't get edge banded. They're going to be hidden inside the cabinet, and also some nailers that are going to be hidden behind the cabinet as well. So you want to make sure that you're edge banding all the right pieces. Once that's done, I can move over to the dado feature and I can cut the grooves for the backs of the window seat. Now here I am applying the edge banding. I'm using the Conturo in the MFT table that's made for the Conturo because some of these pieces are just too thin to use it in the handheld position, which is a little tedious. I'm actually getting a little tired of this method because it is kind of slow. I have to apply the edge banding, then I have to bring it back over to the bench. I have to trim it with the router. I might have to look into a new system sooner or later. I think I need something that I can apply the edge banding on, just running it through the machine and then running it through a trimmer so that I don't have to use a handheld router anymore. Once I'm done with the edge banding, I'll move over to the pocket hole machine. Being that the sides are going to be exposed on this and not covered with an end panel on this window seat, we're going to be using pocket hole joinery. I'm not really fond of pocket hole joinery, but you know, situations like this is where pocket holes have their place. So this will hide the joinery and you won't see any fasteners on the side. So I won't have to do any applied extra end panels. Here's a little pro tip for you. When you are assembling things with pocket holes, the best thing you can do is put clamps on your workpieces so that they don't move around, because pocket holes have a tendency to make the piece skate away. They have a tendency to make the pieces shift on you. So now I flip the piece over, and what I'm doing is putting in the front stretcher. Now this piece is edge banded, so I gotta make sure I'm perfectly flush with the front here. So once again, tap everything in with a dead blow mallet, get it in place, clamp it tight so it doesn't move on me. And then once I get that in place, it kind of squares the cabinet up all by itself. So now I can slide the back panel in. And what I'm using is a 1/4 inch back panel. The reason that I have the grooves 18 millimeters in from the back of the actual carcass is so that I can attach my stretcher boards or nailers behind that. So this way we can attach this window seat to the wall, screw it into the studs behind the wall, and then we're going to have the leveling feet on the bottom. So now I'm just going to flip it over, and you can see we have 1 of 3 boxes that's going to make up the window seat. So I assembled the other 2 boxes in the same manner, and now I'm bringing them all over to the bench, and luckily it just fits on the length of the bench. I didn't have to put an extra sheet of 4x8 sheet of melamine on here to do the assembly with this. The best thing you can do when you want to get these things flush is to make sure that not only do you have them level by shimming up the bottoms if you have any dip in your workbench or anything, but you want to clamp them together and make sure that you have them totally flush and countersink with the drill bit, and then put your screws in. Now you can see here that I'm utilizing the Milwaukee packouts. I have 2 of these stacks now, and let me tell you, they really have me organized in the shop, and keeping everything in there in the shop and out in the field ensures that I don't leave anything home when I go to a job site to install. Now's as good a time as any to install drawer slides. If you're interested in how to install the Blum undermount drawer slides, I have a video on my channel. Just check that out.
Now I'm marking off where I'm going to put the base plates for the Axilo Hafele leveling feet. I'm going to be using those from now on all my cabinet carcasses, some furniture builds and things like that.
Okay, so really quick, I just wanted to explain something here. I'm going to be putting the Axilo feet on this. These are the Hafele Axilo feet, and these are adjustable with a special tool or by hand. Now, the reason I'm using these is, I explained it in a video previously, where I did an entire video on these. This is just a lot faster than making the separate toe kicks. Once I get this in place at the client's home, I'm gonna put all these feet in, stand it up in place, and then I'm gonna adjust all of these to make everything perfectly level and plumb, and then it will get screwed into the wall, and then this will get a white plywood toe kick around the entire side. But what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna install a nailer strip in here, in between, like I showed you in a previous video, and that's gonna be something for me to nail my toe kick skin into once it's installed. So I'm just gonna screw that into the bottom here. But for right now, I'm just gonna pull these feet back off because I'm gonna be putting this whole entire window seat back on the floor in my shop, and so I'm going to leave it on these plastic pads, and so I'm going to have it on top of a piece of plywood so we don't scuff these up, even though it doesn't really matter. These are durable plastic. These are rated for hundreds of pounds. These things hold up kitchen cabinets with all the pots and pans, plus the granite or quartz countertops on top of those. So these are not going to break, okay, even when someone sits on the window seat to put their shoes on or whatever, because this is part of the walk-in closet system. So you don't have to worry about stuff like that. Not to mention that it's also going to be anchored to the wall, which takes pressure off of the feet as well, because you're getting double support that way. So you're securing it all the way around.
Okay, so like I said, I'm just going to put these nailer strips in here, and these are just 18mm pieces of scrap plywood that I've cut to the size to fit between these base plates, and then it gives me something to nail the toe kick skin into instead of trying to nail it into a plastic base plate. Another pro tip, having your workbench on heavy-duty casters will save you a lot of headache, especially when you're running out of room, when you need to do some finishing. I'm putting this on the floor now for two reasons. Number one, it's going to give me an easy way to access the top, which I'm cutting right now. I'm going to oversize the top so that it overhangs the drawer fronts as well. So I took that into consideration with the plans. So I'm just going to cut that to length, cut that to width, and then I got to edge band it. Then I'm going to install that by, you'll see in a second here, I'm going to be clamping two scrap 18mm pieces of plywood on the ends, and what that does is it gives me an 18mm overhang on each side that allows me to flush that up, and then I can just lay on the floor, which really sucks, and then screw the top down from the inside to hide those fasteners. So there's really no other way to do this unless you had it still on the workbench, which I didn't at that point. Sometimes you got to think ahead a little bit more. Right now I'm just putting together the drawer boxes. I'm using 1/2-inch pre-finished maple plywood, and I'm using Rue glue. A lot of people asked me about Rue glue. Rue glue is a chemical type glue that is made for pre-finished plywood and melamine and laminate products. Regular glue will not adhere to pre-finished material or laminates, so you can't use regular wood glue. So the Rue glue allows me to make the drawers, since they're 1/2-inch drawer boxes without pocket screws, I make those a little bit stronger with the Rue glue, and then just some 18-gauge brads, pre-fit, all good.
Okay guys, so I feel the video is going to be getting a little bit long, so the drawer fronts for this I'm going to be doing in the next video. We're going to make the drawer fronts, I'm going to show you how to do the coping sticks. I have a new power feeder for my shaper. We're going to make those. Those are the same profile that we've been using on the rest of this closet. If you've been following along in the other videos, you've seen the massive built-in parts of the closet that I've done so far, and that profile that we ran on all those doors and drawer fronts is what we're going to be running on these. So I'm going to show you that in the next video. We'll make the drawer fronts and we'll install them. Since I have the whole piece here, I don't have to worry about installing them after the fact. I'll install those there. We'll do the finish on those. I'll show you how that's going to work out. Now this is going to sit a little bit higher. Right now it's just sitting on those Axilo feet brackets in the drawer here. I have the actual Axilo feet going to be getting installed on the job site, just to make it a little bit more compact when we bring this unit into the house. Anytime you can make a piece of furniture that you built smaller, or cabinets or anything, anytime you can lessen that footprint of it, do it. So these will just get popped on later at the client's home, so that's why I'm going to be putting those in here so that I don't forget them. So this way now when I get on site, they're already in there and they're ready to go. So pop those on, level everything up, and I'll screw it into the wall so that it's permanent fixed where it is. So those will be sitting up another 100 millimeters or 4 inches higher, and then a toe kick skin will get wrapped around that. Then this will be leveled with those legs and screwed into the wall. I would sit on this right now, but I have like a knife in my back pocket and keys and stuff in the shop here, and there's buttons on the back of these pockets, so I don't want to scratch up the finish. The clients are going to have a custom-made cushion for this on the top. After this is installed, it's going to be centered right in where they have a big window in that closet, and there's going to be a phenomenal amount of storage in here. So you have full extension drawers here, and just adding to the amount of storage that they already have from the rest of the closet system that I built them. One thing I want to note, you guys may have seen when I'm moving the camera around the shop, there's a lot of things going on here right now. You're probably saying to yourself, like, why is there a Makita, 12-inch Makita miter saw on a Makita stand back there in the corner where my Capex usually sits? I didn't get rid of the Capex, but I did get the Makita for my job sites because I feel that the Capex, over the years that I've been using the Capex for installing moldings on job sites and stuff, it's been very limited for me. And so I'm moving to the 12-inch Makita slider, and I'm going to be using that for all my job site work. The Capex, which is in my house right now, I'm doing trim moldings in my house. So that's another thing of creating efficiency. When you work in the shop, and then you have to go out and do the installs and molding jobs and things like that for the stuff you built, you can't keep taking the miter saw in and out of the shop, because if you have to leave it on the job site, and then you have to, the next day you're building something really quick before you go there and you need a miter saw, your miter saw is out there on the job site, and you're not going to go out and build something in the field that you can do in the shop and create more efficiency for yourself by doing that and just bringing there and screwing it into a wall. It's much more efficient to do it in the shop, bring it there, install it, and get out of there. So I got tired of dragging the Capex around with me everywhere and taking it out of my shop and then having to reset it up when I needed it in the shop. And also, being that I'm working on my own house, having it in my house and then having to take it out of my house, bring it back in the shop, then bring it in the van and put it on a job site, it's just become too much. So I think that for efficiency purposes and for what that saw can do and what I'm going to do to upgrade that saw to make it even better, stick around for that. There'll be videos and stuff. We'll go through all of this stuff. I'll do comparisons. It'll be great. Also, on the other side of the shop, right by my workbench, you probably saw a couple of stacks of the Milwaukee Packouts. I'm switching over from my Festool Sustainers to the Milwaukee Packouts. I'll do a whole separate video on that as well, so just stay tuned for that, because there's so much going on and so many upgrades that I'm doing for efficiency and revamping everything that you're really going to want to stick around for this, because it's going to benefit a lot of people. Because if you're doing what I'm doing, or if you're not doing it professionally, even if you're doing it as a hobby, there's going to be things that I'm going to give you tips and tricks that are going to help you and be more efficient and make it more enjoyable when you're doing this in your own shop, or even if you're just doing some jobs for your family or friends or yourself. It's going to make things a lot easier for you, and it's going to make you enjoy the craft a lot more. If you're a professional, then you're going to see the things that I did that makes me more efficient. And if you're not already doing those things, they may benefit you as well and help you to work faster and more efficient and make you more money out in the field as well. So hope you stick around for that. All right, guys. So join me next time. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'm going to try to get this next video up for the drawer fronts as soon as possible. So stick with me on that, and I'll see you next time.